Is purple one of your favorite colors? Certainly, purple is a really beautiful color when it comes to creating oil paintings. In particular, we're going to be using Dioxazine purple and titanium white, and just those two colors to create this very simple monochromatic underpainting. Don't you just love seeing a blank canvas once in a while? So we're going to be working on an 11 by 14 inch cotton canvas. Titanium white and Dioxazine purple are going to be our colors of choice, and we're going to use Neo Megilp medium as our medium. It is a gel like medium, and we're going to start off with a bristle brush and just add a little bit of odorless mineral spirits to it. And here is an image of our model Lucy, and I'm going to keep a picture of her to the top left corner of your screen so you can follow along with me. And this is going to be yet another very energetic start to creating a portrait painting. There you go. There is the first brush stroke. And I decided to slow down the speed for the first brush stroke just because this was a very wild and energetic start, very similar to that large painting that we started yesterday. And if you're wondering why I'm not working on that large painting today, it's just because some areas still didn't dry. That's just kind of the nature of things. But anyway, so we're looking for the basic silhouette of the portrait, and we're going to be kind of working from the inside out. And I tell you what, I'm not terribly worried about anything in this portrait at this stage. I'm only focused on the topmost placement of the head, how far I want to crop the hair to the corner of the canvas to the right side of your screen, and then maybe just start to gesture in where I want the bottom of the face to fit. Now, I'm moving really fast. So here we have a little axis mark for the eye sockets, where the eye sockets will fit, and then a very basic center line, and now we have a mark for the basically the position of the nose. This is very different to how you usually see me work. So now we're going to get another brush. This is a clean and dry size 6 flat bristle brush. I believe it's size 6. It might have been a size 4, but anyway, it's a bristle brush. And again, we're working very free, very loose, very energetic shape and mass oriented approach to constructing this underpainting. Now, if you've seen my previous painting videos, you know that I usually don't start like this. I'm usually much more step by step, much more kind of slow moving, kind of like a tortoise. Now I'm actually moving extremely fast, and that is because, of course, as you may have noticed with the past few videos, I'm now narrating to you in voiceover style, so I'm talking and guiding you through this painting after the fact. So what you're seeing now is a very quick and rapid placement of the light mass of the face, and that's right, the light mass of the face. And we're even going to throw in a little mass of light for the light on the shoulders, but that was kind of just for fun. So now we're going to go ahead and start to sketch in a very basic shape for where the eyebrows are going to fit, and basically the eye sockets. So we're building the portrait from the inside out. That is, we're working the shapes within, and we're going to build from general to specific. Now, I think that it's important to do things differently once in a while. And in my case, I do things differently almost all the time. And I think that's just one of the ways that I kind of self-teach, is just by trial and error, trying out different things. Now, let's remember, painting is one of our experiences in life where we can basically just put all of our troubles away. I think it's a really nice time to relax, a nice time to kind of just, give ourselves a little bit of time away from the world. We know that the world can be a little bit cruel at times. So, tell you what, for the next 30 minutes or however much time is left in this video, I really just want you to sit back, relax, have a cup of tea, and just follow along with me as we construct this monochromatic underpainting. So I'm going to do my best to guide you through all of the steps, but I've been told that I may be speaking a little bit too much with this voiceover style. So tell you what, let me know in the comments if you think that I'm speaking too much. I can certainly let some parts of the videos be a little bit more quiet if that's what you would like. But now, in any case, what we're doing is we're looking at the entire picture all at once, and it's just past the 5-minute mark. So we've done all of this in, I would say, actually less than 5 minutes. So we are moving extremely fast, but what we're doing is we're looking at the entire picture, the entire portrait, all at once. Now, the most important thing for me at this stage was the angle between the two eyes. And the chin could be almost anywhere. I basically just locked in the top of the head. I locked in the kind of the top of the hairline first. And now we're starting to just draw with paint a little silhouette for the nose. Now notice it started off a little bit too low. So the thing is, I usually tell you, keep your shape simple and easy for you to understand so that when the time comes to make changes, those changes will be simple and easy to manage. So look how quickly we're starting to gesture in basically all of these shapes. And again, I think this is probably my fastest portrait block in ever. And I'm really starting to like this technique. Notice this is the same kind of technique that I used yesterday. So rather than trying to spend a very long time trying to draw everything with that umber sketch, that umber sketch you always have seen me do in the past, instead we're seeing all of the shapes from the inside out. And now, wow, you're really starting to see that dioxazine purple start to show. I'll tell you what, on my computer screen, however, that dioxazine looks really blue. Let me know what that color looks like on your computer screen or your iPhone screen. Now, dioxazine purple is a very bright purple. That's why I chose to use it. It's also very dark, so I thought might as well just try out an underpainting with a different color and just see how it goes in terms of the paint handling. And tell you what, the dioxazine is handling really nice. It's handling something similar to raw umber, the way raw umber handles. So notice how fast we're moving across all of these shapes. And the way that we're moving this fast is that we're seeing the entire portrait all at once. That's right. We're seeing the entire picture all at once. That is from the top of the hairline down to the chin, throughout all of the shapes for the hair that we want to indicate. And now we're actually moving right into values. So we're using titanium white and just titanium white into the lighter areas of the portrait. Now, in the past, I may have said to avoid using straight white too early on, but tell you what, the more and more I create these paintings, the more and more I realize, if you're going to be layering a painting, it's okay to use straight white. Now then, the brush is moving very quickly, and we're observing all of these shapes with respect to one another, moving very freely. So that's the key word, freedom. So we're trying to have a lot of freedom with our brush marks. Notice that brush is moving around in any which way it wants to. And that kind of freedom is something that you want to take into the development of your own paintings. I think that it's a very fun and liberating way to approach painting, and in particular portrait painting. So all of us that know what it's like to paint a portrait, we know that, there's that whole timidness about trying to get a likeness really quickly. You never want to insult the model with your paintings and yada yada. All that stuff involved in portrait painting. Well, it's a really good idea to just liberate yourself from all of that and just see what happens. Just enjoy the motion of the brushstrokes moving across each and every form. It's really a very liberating type of way to paint. Now then, I'm going to pause once in a while just so that I'm not speaking so rapidly throughout the entire video. So let's just have a little bit of silence and just observe some of these brush strokes. And of course, I'm not going to be too silent, right? So what we're looking at are the most emphatic accents, basically the most emphatic dark lights. And you'll see what I mean as I continue to paint. But at the same time, those darks, those most emphatic darks, are basically just helping us indicate where the features are going to fit. So another thing that we're going to do now is we're going to start to put in a little bit of a value scale. Notice how quickly we put in that value scale. And so now it's time to have 3 brushes. Those are 3 designated brushes. We have a light brush, middle tone brush, and a shadow brush. So that was a mark with the shadow brush. And we're trying to keep our shapes very simple and easy. Remember, painting is a time when we can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the process. No stress involved here. We're just seeing how all of these shapes develop, and if they end up developing in such a way that they represent the beauty and the elegance of nature, then so be it. And if they don't, we're still making a pretty fun painting. So how about that? Let's keep it about enjoying the painting process, enjoying the aspect of learning, and just in general being positive. And I think that's a really important thing to bring into the conversation of creating these paintings. And so remember, I was talking about those most emphatic dark lights. There you see them, little tiny accent marks for the corner of the side of the mouth. And we're not even afraid to put in a little bit of light in the shadows in the side of the face. I just know that I'm not going to make the shadow as light as anything in the face, in the light region of the face. So again, it's important to always maintain your differentiation between light and shadow. But again, you can still kind of play around with some little transitions of value in the shadow. It'll be okay. So what we're doing is, like I said, we're constructing the painting from the inside out. And tell you what, at this point, I was very much just feeling out all of the shapes, and we're now hitting the 12-minute mark. Again, this is an extremely fast-paced portrait, and you know what made me move so quickly? I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried about anything. I was just experiencing the painting, experiencing the moment while creating all of these brush strokes. And whoa, look at that color. Look at the dioxazine purple. It is being influenced by a little bit of the titanium white. But I tell you what, like on my computer screen, it looks really blue. It looks very cold. In life, it looked much warmer, like a warmer purple. This is very interesting. And tell you what, question of the day. Here's going to be an interesting fact about this painting that I shouldn't share, but whatever. I'm going to share it with you anyway, because you know what? I love sharing my life with you. I really do enjoy that you're watching my painting videos, you're listening, you're commenting, and just tell you what. Question of the day. What music do you like to listen to when you're painting? Or that being said, do you even enjoy listening to music while you're painting? If you enjoy listening to music while you're painting, go ahead, comment down below. What kind of music do you like to listen to when you're painting? Fun fact, I was listening to Biggie Smalls when I was painting this portrait. So around this stage, definitely Biggie Smalls. Okay, so I grew up in the 90s, all right? So I'm a 90s kid. So yeah, that would explain why I was listening to that music. In any case, yep, comment down below. What kind of music do you like to listen to when you're painting? And even give us a little story. How does the music help you out? And for me, I don't know, just like old school rap music, just like has these like rhythms and these flows to it. If you don't really focus too much on the actual lyrics and you listen to like the beat, and it's kind of like the motion of the brush strokes. Look at the brush strokes on the painting. Look at just like the sweeping lines, the diagonals. We have some horizontals. We have some verticals. We're not too worried about where each and every brushstroke ends up going. Notice how freely we're just moving across, kind of almost in a rhythmic fashion, kind of like a nice little rhythm going on across the side of the eye there. And tell you what, if I really like the music that I'm listening to while I'm painting, I think it does help me paint with a little bit more confidence. It helps me move a little bit more quickly. So notice how we're not even afraid to just throw in highlight area in the corner of the nose. And again, I chose to use Dioxazine purple for this monochromatic underpainting, just because I wanted to try out a different color, and purple just seemed like a very interesting thing to use. And if your favorite color is purple, then that is awesome. Tell you what, you should really create an underpainting using your favorite color. I have actually already done that because, you know what, my favorite color actually is brown. Burnt umber is pretty much brown, so I've actually been creating underpaintings with my favorite color this whole time. But anyway, let's get back to the painting. So with the nose, you're seeing a very simple halftone. The entire wing of the nose is one flat halftone, and now we have a little mark there for the back side of the wing of the nose, and now we have a single brush stroke for the bottom portion of the wing of the nose, and that brushstroke also helped to define and delineate the root of the nose. So we're very much economizing all of our brushstrokes with this approach. And notice that sweeping brushstroke, and again, rhythmic motion is something I think to notice within our own brushstrokes. I really love just sweeping lines moving across. Notice how with the zygomatic bone, we just threw in a single brushstroke in almost a careless kind of fashion. And already it's like, 16 minutes into the painting, and it's already starting to emerge. Certainly it doesn't look like a perfect photographic rendition of the model, but you can see the joy, the fun involved in creating a painting in a very free and loose kind of manner. And we're just starting to put in a little bit of a plane change for the bottom portion of the zygomatic bone. And we're just going to throw in just a few little marks on the side of the forehead just to push the side of the forehead out a little bit. Sorry that the brushstroke kind of went out of frame a little bit. But in any case, here we are now, and we're going to observe that there needs to be just a little more of the portrait showing to the right side of your screen. So let's go ahead and just throw a little brush stroke right into here. And we're just trying to keep our value arrangement very simple in the lights. And there we go. Now we're starting to put in a very simple little light shape. Notice that there is a very interesting shape as the hair goes across the side of the face, though I'm going to make the edge much softer than the photograph is making it. I think the photograph is kind of making that edge along the hair a little bit too sharp. And that right there is one very simple chop for a plane. And if you're new to painting and if you're new to the concept of planes, follow along with my brush right there, because I put in a big flat brush stroke, a big bright brush stroke for the area of the zygomatic bone that was facing the light, and then I softened it very much like a sculptor would just chisel out one flat plane indicating the cheekbone of a certain area, basically the cheekbone area of the model's face, and then just soften out the little chop, like a plane chop. Very much like working with a block of clay. And again, I'm going to make that edge a little bit softer than it appears in the photograph. Notice how I let some of the titanium white actually mix in with the dioxazine purple, and now I'm even coming back in with the light color for the with the flesh tones, just to ensure that we have a very smooth edge. And now you're really starting to see the brightness of the dioxazine purple. If you don't have dioxazine purple, go and get some dioxazine purple, because it's a really, really beautiful color to use in still life objects or in, even underpaintings like this, because I've actually never used dioxazine purple or any kind of different color for an underpainting. And tell you what, I'm gonna ask you another question. I've been asking a lot of questions. If there are any other colors that you would want me to create an underpainting with, let me know. But of course, they would have to be colors that would be dark, right? I certainly wouldn't want to make an underpainting with yellow ochre or something like that. So go ahead, comment down some suggestions for other colors that you would want me to use for underpaintings. I think a really interesting one, other than the dioxazine purple, would probably be alizarin permanent, just because it gets really dark. That would be a really interesting kind of space age looking underpainting. But in any case, let's explain a little bit more about the shapes. And again, I'm trying not to speak so much and so rapidly. So in any case, with the face, as I start to block in these shapes here on the side, tell you what, with each individual feature, I'm actually making the conscious decision in my mind. We're going to add a little bit more Neo Megilp to this brush just to cover the hair. Now, anyway, I'm making the conscious decision in my mind to not worry about measuring. I'm not worried too much about how to perfectly map out the proportions, and that seems very contrary to what you would think with a portrait artist, especially a portrait artist that has created so many portraits. And I tell you what, coming from experience after creating so many portraits, I think that the likeness really emerges from the large structure, like the silhouette of the face. And if you keep the features, notice how the mouth and the nose and even the eyes are painted in so simply that if I want to move them any which way, it's not that difficult to move them around. And work with as much freedom as possible. Notice how the Neo Megilp medium is facilitating the application of the large area of paint, and now you're really starting to see the dioxazine purple start to kind of shine. It really did. After this painting was finished in the studio, this painting was actually starting to glow in a way I've never seen an oil painting glow before, just because of the brightness of the dioxazine purple. And now as we put in this simplistic flat shape in the background, this is around the time where I decided to leave the background color as it was, just to kind of add a nice contrast to the saturation of the dioxazine purple. And the background color, if you're curious, is not any color in particular. In fact, the background color was all of the paint on my palette one day when I was painting. I think it was the painting of Natalia that we were working on a little while ago. I took all the paint from the palette, the mixing space of the palette, combined it together with the palette knife, and I used that to tone my canvases. So now we're going to move into smaller brushes. So now it's going to be small brush time. So just like I had with the bigger brushes, we're going to have a dark brush, a middle tone brush, and a light brush, but no need to show you the same thing twice. So just know that I'm going to keep my smaller brushes just as organized as the larger brushes. So we're going to start to put in the most emphatic dark shapes for each of the features, and we're going to focus primarily on the model's left eye, that is the eye to the right of your screen. So with a few very basic brush strokes, now we have a simplistic halftone there for the eyelid. And the eyelid can be painted in very, very easily with just a few simple brush strokes. And you can even count them. It's probably even just 3 brush strokes at this moment. And that would probably be our 4th brush stroke. And we're just keeping it very, very simple. And the idea is that the forms that are turning away from the light, so if you're new to this channel and you don't know about the idea and the concept of planes, it's very simple. Let me guide you through it. So notice how we're putting this dark shape in. That is for the concavity of the eye socket. And the concavity of the eye socket is a plane change. And let's remember, each plane change can be described via a value change. So as the value gets darker, we're indicating to the viewer that that particular plane is starting to face the light a little bit less. And that's all there is to it. That's all there is to the concept of delineating form on the structures of the face. And now we're going to get in a little more light into the bottom of the lower lip around the orbicularis oris. It is the structure that contains the mouth. And so very simply here, we're starting to put in this very light plane. And this is wild. I'm really glad that I decided to use the Dioxazine purple, because my computer screen is glowing. Let me know if your computer screen looks like it's starting to glow. That Dioxazine purple is extremely, extremely bright. And if you're watching this with a smartphone or something, turn the phone around, turn it over, because when you turn it, it actually will push the contrast between the shapes. Isn't that wild? What it looks like when you turn the phone over and see how that bright purple is contrasting. I don't know, man. I think this might be the start to a lot of very interesting, colorful paintings, don't you think? In any case, now, what we're looking for are very, very, very specific value changes now. Whereas in the beginning, we started very holistic, looking at everything all at once. Now we're starting to subdivide even the nose, the bottom of the bulb of the nose. We're starting to subdivide those areas into individual plane changes. And we're starting to pick and choose which edges we want to be sharper and which edges we want to be softer. And so right around the bottom of the wing of the nose, so right around the bottom of the wing of the nose, I actually want it to be a little bit softer. The photo reference is definitely focusing a little bit more into that area. And I just don't think that we would see that much contrast in the nose if we were, of course, observing the model from life. So again, it's always important to sharpen the edges of focus. So in particular, the corner of the nose, if you notice, kind of the nasal bone is much sharper, because I want more focus to be in that area of the face and less focus on the nostrils. And now again, we're starting to put in just a little simple shape there, and that's the shape for the philtrum. And the philtrum is that teardrop looking shape beneath, kind of connecting the root of your nose to the top middle portion of your upper lip. And notice how even at this stage, even though we're using smaller brushes, all of the features are kept very, very simple. And notice that we're not, I'm not terribly worried about trying to get a perfect photographic rendition. These days, like I say, the more and more I create these paintings, the more and more I realize that creating painting is about painting, not about trying to perfectly copy what you're looking at. That's just not my style. That's just not what I'm after. What I'm after is really to enjoy the experience of painting, to perfect my craft in terms of learning how to construct all of these planes. Notice that plane change right there is very cleanly indicated between the bottom of the lower lip and then the side of the shadow. That's a pretty good example for delineating plane changes for you, because now I'm softening that plane change. So like I said, for me, it's more important to find kind of visual poetry within the shapes and to describe and to interpret the beauty and the elegance that we observe in nature, and to bring that experience to you, of course. Now we just threw in a much darker accent for the bottom of the lower lip. And I think it's important to look at the edge quality, in particular around the corners of the lips. So I actually soften those edges a little bit more than you'll see typically in most photographs. Most photographs will probably sharpen the corners of the lips. I actually tend to soften them just because, again, I don't think we would focus our eyes onto the corner of a particular person's lips. Instead, we would be much more focused towards their eyes, maybe the middle between their eyes and their cheeks. And right into the middle tone region of the palette, we're going to soften the bottom of the lower eyelid. And I'm not trying to soften it just because I want it to be out of focus, but rather I want a much more specific curve now. So I want it to be sharper, a much more specific edge. So I want it to be sharper around the tear ducts. Notice how I sharpened it around the tear ducts, and then softer as it progresses towards the kind of the midway point between the eyes. And now we're just going to move the shape of the chin up just a tiny little bit. And tell you what, at this stage, the Dioxazine purple was actually starting to get tacky, which is very strange because I would think that purple is a slow dryer, just like ultramarine blue is the one I can think of. And that would be another interesting color to use for an underpainting. Would you like to see me create an underpainting with Dioxazine blue? Let me know. And another question is, as I did mention, this is an underpainting. Underpainting usually implies that you're going to paint, build onto it. But I kind of like the way that this painting looked after it was finished in just the purple stage. So let me know in the comments. I know I'm asking a lot today. Let me know if you want me to continue this painting. I would be happy to. But if you like the way it looked, in the purple stage, I can certainly leave it be in the purple stage and talk about plane change. Notice that large shape that we put in there. And again, if you're going to work in successive layers, it's okay to work brighter because you can always glaze over top of it. Notice how just like a sculptor would just put in a big chop, like I mentioned before, we put in that big chop of light and now we're softening it. And notice how quickly, how rapidly that started to create the illusion of form on the zygomatic bone, the cheekbone. And again, we moved really, really fast in this painting. So if you want to scroll back to that area where I put in that big brush stroke and then scroll back to this area here, you know how you can scroll with your phone, or you can mute me, or you can move around with the with your smartphone or your laptop or whatever. Just zoom back and forth so you can see how individual brush strokes can have individual effects. That's one of the nicest things I think about this YouTube platform, is the fact that we can just scroll and see things and fast forward if we want them to, or slow them down. And again, now we're sharpening the edge around the corner of the eye and strategically letting the titanium white mix with the hair around here, right over there, because I'm trying to soften those areas. And tell you what, I'm having a good couple days because I was really happy with yesterday's painting, that large underpainting, and I was actually really happy with this purple underpainting. And let's go ahead and just show you some close-up shots of the kind of the squiggling of the brush. And again, we're going to push the light even more near the tear duct. So that is, again, the side of the tear duct of the eyes. We're even going to still try to push a little more of a smooth curve. Now we only have about maybe 1 or 2 minutes left. So what we're going to do is we're going to sharpen a particular area on the painting just with the dioxazine purple, and look how much this painting is glowing. I just can't stop looking at how bright the dioxazine purple is. It's amazing. So just putting in a single brush stroke in a very poetic, rhythmic kind of way. And one of the last things we're going to do is just soften the little edge around the corner of the side of the cheekbone. So just with a clean and dry synthetic brush. But there's just one more final touch, one more little touch that I'm going to want to do to the painting. Notice the cast shadow, the shadow side of the face. There's a little gap there that I forgot to fill in. So right after I'm done softening this area of the face, I'm going to mix up another little shadow area to facilitate the shadow side. You'll see what I mean. Alright, so here we are in close-up view of the palette, and that pretty much just has straight dioxazine purple, and I'm mixing it, and you know, the paint was very tacky, which is really strange that the dioxazine purple would start to get tacky. But then again, this is the very last adjustment that I'm going to make, or one of the very last adjustments I'm going to make onto the portrait, because I did miss the little shadow that was on this corner on the side of the face. I don't want it to be too dark. It certainly isn't that dark in the photo reference. And that being said, I really hope that today's video helps you out. I wish you the best in all of your artwork. I really hope that these videos are helping you out. And remember, always paint with freedom. Always enjoy the process, because, you know, people can tell when you enjoy the process of creating your paintings. And I truly do hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. I wish you the best in all of your artwork, and I will be back again very soon.